We are here stationed at the Epworth Local Board where we are with the candidates and polling agents. We have traveled around various polling stations today. We've also received a number of updates from our command center where we're hearing firstly very heartening news. The statistics demonstrate that today's by-election has had the highest turnout of all the by-elections that have been conducted since about 2000. So for a by-election, we've got an extremely high turnout today, and for that we'd like to obviously thank the citizens. Today, President Nelson Chamisa cast his own vote at Fadzayi 2 primary school polling station, and the key message that he sent out to the citizens is that everyone has to go out to vote. As a citizens movement, we believe in the change of government constitutionally, and the only way we can do this is through the ballot paper. Now, we have said consistently that the by-election of the 26th of March of today is a dry run to test the preparedness, especially of the electoral management body, ZEC, to check whether they are ready to conduct the general election of 2023. Are they going to pass the neutrality test, the constitutionality test, the independence test, the integrity test? And so far, I'm very sad to report that ZEC has let the citizens down. Consistently, we've also said that the Z in Zimbabwe Electoral Commission does not stand for ZANU-PF. It stands for Zimbabwe. We expect them to do the bidding of the citizens. We've had a number of concerning reports around the voters' roll, and we'd actually written to ZEC, engaged them and raised the alarm well before today's election. The fact that the voters' roll has been tampered with significantly. In fact, the widespread report that we're getting from all polling stations is that a number of people are getting turned away because their names are not appearing on the voters' roll, even though their names appeared, and these are the polling stations that they went to for 2018. That is concerning because every citizen has the right to vote under Section 67 of the Constitution, and that right can't be taken away unilaterally by ZEC. ZEC must explain what process it used to remove citizens from their polling station. We all know that constitutionally the delimitation process has not started, so there simply is no justifiable reason why someone should attend at Hellenic Primary Station or Mutasa Central or Chivi and find that their name is not at the polling station that should have been there. Even with the gazetting process and the procedures that are supposed to take place in terms of the law to notify the citizens of any changes, none of that took place. ZEC simply has not complied with the law. The additional concern that's been raised is around the unilateral removal of polling stations where they were traditionally stationed. We had a problem like this in Harare West and a number of other areas where a tent that used to be in a particular area has unilaterally been moved and moved close to the residence of one of the candidates for obviously the other side. Now, we are concerned with that because part of the importance of the voter registration process is to ensure that a citizen knows exactly where they're supposed to go to vote on voting day. That's why you allocated a polling station. So voting day comes and you're no longer at that polling station. This is hugely concerning. That polling station is no longer there. That's hugely concerning. We also have a problem with the manner in which ZEC is treating citizens when they arrive at various polling stations. Now, we know that in terms of our constitution, there has to be security of the voter. You shouldn't give out the details or take down names of voters as they arrive at a polling station. That's an intimidation tactic, it's a harassment tactic, it's a tactic which actually undermines the citizens' right to privacy. Now, it's obviously no answer to this concern to say that they're looking out for COVID regulations. We all know that over the last 3-4 weeks, we've been conducting rallies where thousands, tens of thousands of citizens have come. We haven't been recording their details. We haven't undermined their rights to privacy. They've been allowed to come in, and we haven't had a single report of a COVID-19 outbreak following that. So it's simply no explanation. It's not enough to say it's for COVID. We know it's not about COVID. We know that they want to carry out some sort of intimidatory process, and we are concerned with that. We object to it. It's actually unlawful and it's unconstitutional. Now, the further concern that we raise, especially in our more rural areas, Yongezi, Yongwenezi, what happened in Mutasa Central, is the use of traditional leaders who were rounding up citizens and making them pretend to be citizens who need assistance, and making them go and vote in twos so that someone can check whether you're really voting for ZANU-PF. That conduct simply has to stop. What we also saw taking place, where citizens will be told, Kunzi, you know, you have to vote for me. That's not acceptable, especially on election day. You know, vote buying is not acceptable on any day, but especially not on election day. It's simply unconstitutional and unacceptable. Now, the one thing that we've noticed is that even though all these concerns exist, even though we've got all these troubles, and in this very constituency in Epworth, we had a very big problem last night at Mandu polling station, where our polling agents were simply denied entry, and this is something that's been taking place in a number of constituencies, a number of wards as well. Why are you barring CCC polling agents from coming in? It's simply not acceptable. The other problem we had in Kwekwe, we've had a number of issues. We had an incident of electoral violence, which should be a thing of the past. Our polling agents were beaten by ZANU-PF thugs, and the police are simply not taking the report. That sort of conduct has to stop. We had an issue in Mutare where, you know, Prosper Mtseami is standing up to ZEC when they're acting unconstitutionally and unlawfully, and we see him getting harassed for that. Now, the difference between this election and the last election of 2018 is our polling agents are in place, and they're giving us to-the-minute details. The citizens are ready to defend their vote. People have been trained, and they know exactly what to do to ensure that we record all the irregularities. So my clarion cry to everyone as I conclude is, let's all register to vote. We still have until 7 o'clock this evening. Please, let's throng our polling stations. If there's a by-election in your area, please make sure that you go, so that we overwhelm the rigging machine, but more importantly, so that we have lots of data points as we approach 2023. We want to make sure that all the data, all the information, all the shenanigans of ZEC are exposed in this poll, so that come 2023, we are more ready than ever to ensure that we win Zimbabwe for change. I think with that, I'll just take maybe a few questions, and then we can conclude the update for now, and then we'll possibly have one at the end of the day.
Okay. I just want to know, I was late, but I just want to know how is the voting process right now, especially here in Epworth.
So in Epworth, we had an issue last night in various polling stations, including Mandu, where our polling agents were not allowed to enter the polling station to observe the conduct of the presiding officer and ZEC. That's an issue that's obviously of concern to us. This morning, most of our polling stations here in Epworth were congested, so we've had a very decent turnout. In fact, our statistics show that this is the highest turnout for a by-election, so we are happy about that. It's generally been peaceful. Obviously, we object to the fact that at every polling station, the citizens are being asked to give their personal details. That's unconstitutional, because constitutionally you are entitled to your privacy and your security as a voter. So that's the complaints that we raise. Obviously, there's also been some harassment of our polling agents, but that's something that we are on guard to defend against as the CCC. So all in all, by and large, it's been fairly decent, but we are concerned with the manner in which ZEC is conducting itself.
Okay, so you are not here to hear any complaints against?
Yes, we've got huge complaints against ZEC. Especially around the credibility of the voters' roll. A number of citizens are arriving at polling stations that they voted at in 2018, polling stations in respect of which they've checked the roll and their names appeared, and then they're being turned back and they're being told that their names aren't on the voters' roll. When we arrived this morning, we saw that the voters' roll had not been displayed publicly, which is what the law requires, and we had to actually object to the presiding officer to ensure that the voters' roll was displayed. We're also concerned, again, like I said, ZEC should not be intruding upon the privacy of citizens, demanding personal details. That's a tactic of intimidation, so we object to that. So what we object to is the conduct of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. We've said time and again that ZEC must act with integrity, ZEC must act lawfully, ZEC must act constitutionally, or it must be disbanded. The ZEC that we're seeing in this election is not a ZEC that's fit or capable to conduct the 2023 election.
Yeah. And lastly, we just saw some of your members said they didn't find their names. Here in Airport, that is it Makomo
yes.
polling station?
Yes.
They said they didn't find their names.
That's exactly what we're referring to. The credibility of the voters' roll has been cast into doubt. You'll recall that the CCC approached ZEC in February, as soon as the by-election process was announced, as soon as the proclamation was issued, to demand a copy of the voters' roll. We secured a copy, and that's the copy that we gave to various partners, including Team Pachedu. And we've been raising the alarm time and again. We wrote to ZEC and said, what is going on here? Give us a credible voters' roll. That's when you remember that they ended up firing some of their staffers, saying that they let out an unauthorized copy of the voters' roll. Now, it shouldn't really happen that way. In a constitutional democracy, there should be one credible voters' roll. Why is it being tinkered with? Why do we have an unlawful delimitation process that's been taking place? Why do we have a situation where a citizen's name just disappears, like magic from the voters' roll? That is a violation of the right to vote, and we're complaining. And it's not just in Makomo, it's not just in Mandu, it's not here there with the local board alone. Throughout the country, we've got that same problem. And we object to an election where the voters' roll is not credible. The voters' roll is one in which people's right to vote has been taken away because their names simply don't appear. ZEC doesn't have the right to remove voters from the voters' roll unilaterally. Just one more question, I think, so that we disperse. Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, are you in touch with your agents? Because when we were passing in Harare West, it's Sangamaiti and ANP, it seems that it's darker and there's no electricity, they have no light. So what are you going to do, especially Kanazapana 6 p.m. How are you going to make sure that they get help?
So to answer you, we're definitely in touch with our polling agents. We are certainly in touch with our polling agents. Our polling agents are giving us all those reports, and we're taking issue, especially with the presiding officer, to make sure that they are safe and they're secure. Obviously, they've complained a number of times. Sometimes they're threatened with arrest. We saw that take place in Harare West, and we're trying to take steps as well and be proactive and robust to make sure that we do everything to defend the vote. Because despite all these shenanigans, the citizens are going to vote, and we continue to call upon the citizens. We're not raising these complaints to say that people shouldn't vote. People should absolutely vote, because this is the only way we can overwhelm the rigging machine and make sure that we win Zimbabwe for change in 2023. ZEC has to get it right. It's not a question of citizens not voting, it's a question of ZEC doing the right thing. ZEC possibly being disbanded because, of the shambolic manner in which they've run this election, and then we proceed from there. And some, it's not just a question of there not being lights. Some tents were in the middle of a bush, like in Kwekwe. Some tents were completely removed, like in Harare West. We've got so many complaints, the harassment of our officers. We saw what even happened at Mija Primary School, where ZEC presiding officer starts tampering with ballot material all on her own. Even the question of the indelible ink that's being used, we see that it washes away easily. That's not what should happen. That does not, give confidence to the citizens and make for a secure vote. Okay, thank you so much.